Hello, and welcome to Raw Jobs, our pilot installment. And just to kick it off, I want to be really raw with the fact that I forgot to record the actual live session that I hosted this afternoon. So this is kind of a false recording where I'm going through my whole spiel again, and I'm going to answer the questions that were asked during the session so that there's a recording in case anyone wants to ever listen to me describe what my raw job is. So yeah, welcome, and let me just go ahead and get into this. So, raw jobs. What are all these adults up to all day long? Again, the intent of this is to give a jargon-free, hype-free, boast-free, raw explanation of what I actually do. So I'm going to try my best to put things in layman terms and give you some perspective on what I do, why I do it, why I'm good at it, and what it takes to do this job. So, hi, that's me. I'm Andrea Belz, and I work at a company called Medtronic. We're a medical device and services company. My official title in my role is SAP Environment Manager. I'm located at the Mounds View, Minnesota location, which for those of you not in Minnesota, that's very near to Minneapolis. In my current role, I make between $80,000 and $100,000 to do what I do every day. I've been in this role for about 5 years, and there's my contact information if you're interested. So those are just some of the super flat out basics about myself. Okay, now really into the meat. So as I mentioned at the top, I want this to be acronym-free, jargon-free. So one acronym that I need to explain right off the bat, because it's in my title, is SAP. SAP stands for Systems and Products. It's basically an application that any company who makes stuff uses to manage their business and all of their customer information. It's the second largest software company in the world, I believe. Many other companies who, again, make stuff run on SAP. And so my entire job is about managing our environments. And to clarify, that means where we develop changes, how we test changes. Through software, you can't just make a direct change in your production. It could break things, it could stop your business, so it has to go through a life cycle of development and testing. And so I help people get through that and specifically alert people when we have some kind of planned system outage. So what that actually means every day is I stare a lot at this schedule. It's something I built, and it's a way that I manage all the comings and goings of what people are doing across our entire SAP landscape and when we have outages. It's what I use as a reference point and a source of truth. It's public to Medtronic IT, and it helps guide decisions based on current activities and what people need to do in order to make changes to the system and get them to production safely. So just some reference there. The rest of my day, just like many of us in corporate America, are spent going to meetings, hosting meetings, answering questions, and sending emails, all to do with that map that I just showed you, all about system availability. I just wanted to show this for reference. This is kind of a typical work week where you can see I just have a bunch of meetings, a bunch of back-to-back meetings, a bunch of long-running meetings. These are meetings that I need to attend and barely listen to. Some of the meetings I host myself. Some of the meetings I need to pay close attention to. But it's meetings. Just to put it in super layman's terms, essentially, I manage a super complex Google Calendar for a family of 50. So I need to remember that this group of people all need to go to this certain place at a certain time, but also that our car is broken down on Tuesday, and also that we're going on vacation 2 weeks from now. Another coworker of mine put it a different way, that imagine all of a huge family living in one house and we want to make some home renovations. Well, in order to do that, it's not great if someone starts on a tile work before some of the drywall work is done. And if you want to do some plumbing work, it's better to kind of group that all together. So I'm kind of that construction foreman. I think that's what it's called in the construction business, that kind of oversees what everyone's doing and says, yeah, that makes sense in that order, or yeah, you are able to do that on this specific day. Other ways to describe it is being a middleman. So I help competing projects come to a compromise. It's kind of silly to me still when I think about it that grown adults can't really do that on their own. We really do need a middleman collecting that information and weighing in on what the decision should be. Also, a huge part of my job is being a babysitter and a whipcracker. So we put out a schedule of when people are supposed to do specific work, and I spend a lot of time checking in. Hey, are you doing that work right now? You were supposed to do that work. We agreed on that you would do this work. So I spend a large part of my day reminding people of things that they already agreed to do. Also, in addition to this kind of main function of controlling the schedule, is I support a lot of other kind of random IT work around this because of my knowledge of how to get a change into our production SAP. Okay, so that's what I do. What does my day really look like to do this? Well, I work essentially core hours, 8 to 4 of being available, but it's really flexible. Every day I look at my list of meetings and decide, do I need to be there in person? Can I take this from home? Can I take this from a car? I can shift things around so that I'm able to go to a doctor's appointment in the middle of the day, or I'm able to pick up my kids early. I do sit and stare at a computer basically the whole day to do my job. But again, the good part is I can do it anywhere. I've done a lot of meetings from the car, from my phone, from working remotely, as well as working from home. I do go into the office to get space time for certain things, so it's really dependent on me kind of assessing how important my meeting is and if I can do it just over the phone or in person. Okay, a couple other questions, basic questions I'm going to answer are, so how does this job fit into the larger picture, or why is this even needed? So Medtronic is a very large company. We have about 85,000 employees, and we put an incredible amount of business through SAP. I think the projection is about, $75 to $100 million a day just in sales orders. So with all this business, we have a bunch of changes. There's rules, regulations, business improvements happening all the time, and all of those need to be developed, tested, and make it through that gauntlet before they get to production. So I look at myself as that partner that people can use in order to both navigate all of the disruption and make sure they're in the right place at the right time, and also negotiate. So maybe you're someone that's part of a project that actually does need to do maintenance on a system. Well, do you know when it's safe to take a system down? Do you know how to communicate out to the right stakeholders to make them know that you're going to do that? That's why you partner with me. I'll help you through that. Also, because I am not associated to any particular project within SAP, I can see the larger picture of all the comings and goings and advise on, hey, how should we schedule things in, or how do we weigh competing priorities? I get that larger view. And why is this needed? I like to think that if my role didn't exist, we would probably spend a ton of time fighting fires caused by colliding work, someone taking systems down, and other people not knowing about it, a bunch of projects kind of overlapping and disrupting each other just because they didn't know they both existed. Also, so why am I good at this job at all? And what kind of skills would someone need in order to be successful at this job? Here are the top 4 that I thought of. Is the ability to adapt quickly. I actually didn't have any SAP experience when I started this job in 2014. I had kind of heard of it, but no formal experience. So when I landed in my role, I absorbed like a sponge very quickly all the technical speak of systems and all the different technical groups and how to work with them and understand their language. I'm a quick learner. I have a great memory for detail. that whole colorful rainbow schedule that I showed you earlier, if you ask me 3 months from now what one particular system is doing, I can tell you. I have that entire schedule memorized in my brain, mostly because I look at it every day. So it's my third child, basically. I'm really efficient. I can churn through emails very quickly and also tasks very quickly. I'm able to prioritize my work and understand, okay, this is a presentation for leadership that I need to spend a bunch of time making it perfect versus these are just some questions I need to get out quickly, quick turnaround. And I'm a natural networker. I love getting out there and ferreting my way into different projects, getting to know different people. So this has enabled me to basically not know the answer to a lot of questions directly, but I know who does know the answer. So people come to me a lot. Because I'm having to do this recording after the fact, I apologize. There were some fantastic questions when I presented this live and in living color. So here's a couple of the questions. I tried to summarize what I heard. The people probably asked them better than I even summarized here, but let me go through them. So someone asked, hey, since you didn't have any SAP experience, how did you get this job? And could other people do the same? The answer, I think like most jobs, I landed in this by luck and timing. Also within corporate America, consulting firms. What that does is instead of taking the gamble and hiring someone full time, you can sign a contract with a firm for 6 months or 12 months, bring someone in to do the job and decide, man, they really stunk. They're up after that 12 months. It's really hard to fire a full-time employee in corporate America. So they hire a lot of people through these third-party consulting firms, and that's how I landed in my current role. Also, I did have some previous experience with IT applications, so I knew a little bit about at least how to manage work, or at least kind of how to listen into the talk of IT, and kind of gain that knowledge quickly. So I would like to think others could do the same. Tip of the day is definitely if you're looking to get into a big corporate company, look for what consulting firms are on the preferred vendor list and pony up to one of those to get in. Another great question, very observant, was someone saying that it seems like seeing conflicts before they happen was a big part of my job, and how do I know how to do that, and how have I gotten better at that? That is a huge part of my job, and a skill that I continue to improve on is before we have a problem, collision, contention, is to solve it even before it happens. And funnily, just this morning, I spent a couple hours preparing a presentation for senior leadership of pie in the sky options for what we would do if a project needed to shift its date with the associated pros and cons. So nothing that's actually happening, but just try to get ahead of the ball and provide my expertise on here's what we could do and all of the things to really think about to help weigh in on that decision. And last question, and it's something I think that will probably come up in future raw job presentations, are career paths. So me specifically, since I'm the only one who does this job at Medtronic, is I don't have a formal career path. I'm not some kind of business analyst that starts as an associate, works up to senior, principal, etc. I'm doing this role. The only hope that I have is to just accumulate additional experiences, get brought on to little side projects. And really, because Medtronic is such a big company within IT, man, I can go a lot of places. I interface with a lot of different teams, so kind of know people and understand the different projects that they're working on. And then outside of Medtronic, like I mentioned at the top, SAP is a worldwide used software. So the marketplace is flush with jobs that have to do with SAP knowledge. So all of that being said, I'm not really sure what I'll do in 5 years, definitely not in 10 years, but I am hopeful that I'm employable, and hopefully I'll continue to land these great kind of jobs. So that concludes this first pilot session of Raw Jobs.